Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be chopping up one of my more rare Monsteras. This is the Monstera deliciosa Brazil form. I bought it as a single node cutting and it had one leaf. I'm not too sure if I have the original leaf on it or not, but I am growing roots before I make the cut. That's what's in this little bubble looking thing here, so let's check it out. No matter how many times I've propagated plants in the past, especially when I'm doing rare or expensive plants, propagation always makes me a little bit nervous, but I chose the air layering method with this one just because I've had really good success, and this is a great way to pretty much guarantee getting roots before you even make the cut. So this bulb looking thing has sphagnum moss inside. You want to keep that relatively damp throughout the entire process. This has been rooting in here for probably about maybe 3-4 weeks. So you definitely don't want the moss to dry out. So I watered it a couple days ago and this thing is just absolutely soaked right now. But I have not opened this up, so I don't know what the overall root structure looks like, but I can definitely see some roots growing just kind of through the container here. So I'm curious to see what the root mass or root ball looks like. So I'm just going to take this out of the pot. Since the soil is absolutely soaking, I want to show you how I determine whether or not a Monstera needs water or not. Now sometimes it can be difficult when you have a larger pot, but this smaller one, it'll be pretty easy. So this soil is absolutely soaking wet, but what I like to use is this wood bamboo skewer. I will stick it all the way to the bottom of the pot. I will let it sit there for a second, and then when you pull it out, if there is any soil sticking to the wood, then you know roughly where the moisture line is in the pot. So you can see all this soil on the wood, and I can even feel just how wet it is. So that is a good way to determine whether your plant needs to be watered or not, or if you are unsure of the moisture level in the pot. So I'm just going to push that down. So the soil level is right up to here, and you can see there is soil on the wood right up to where my finger was. So now I'm just going to pop this plastic piece off. I don't want to break it, but it should just snap apart like that. And then same with on this side, and all the moss just flies everywhere. Now I'm just going to peel this off at the back, just so we can see the roots. And actually there's quite a bit of nice roots right there. So I'm just going to take away as much of the moss as I can. And that way I can see where on the stem I can make the cut. Okay, I've pulled away most of the moss, and it looks like the majority of the root system has come from this root right here. So there's really nothing at this node, and there's just one kind of, I'll turn it around, there's one root from this node. So what I'm actually going to do, just because I want to put this plant in a new pot on a support stake, I'm actually going to be cutting it probably somewhere around here. That way I'll have a shorter stem, and then over time it'll latch onto the wood plank, and then I'll have these extra nodes which I can chop up individually, and I can make more individual plants. So I think I can maybe do 1, 2, 3, maybe, yeah, 3 extra plants I can make from this one cutting. I'll get in here nice and close with this one, but when you're chopping a Monstera, say like somewhere up here, you want to be in between 2 nodes, but you want to avoid this little oval structure, and it's typically found behind a leaf or close to a leaf on a Monstera. So this is where a new growth point, like this right here, this is the new growth point. A new stem or new plant is going to pop out from that little growing eye right there. So you want to cut somewhere just above that so you don't cut into that growing eye. So here's the main root system that I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to cut it, and I don't want to cut that growing eye down there. So I'm going to cut right here like that. And now I have a separate plant, and then I have some individual nodes which I can make into entirely new plants. Now the growing eye for this one is right there. So I'm going to chalk this right below. Again, there's a growing eye for this one. So I'm going to cut just above the growing eye in between 2 nodes, something like that. So now this will grow into a new plant. This one already has a nice root, so I'm going to take this cutting right there like that. So this will sprout from right there, has a nice root, so this one can go immediately into a pot. Now this node right here, once I make the cut, I'm actually just going to pull it out a little bit. There actually might be a few nodes on this one. There's more than one node. I just realized. Might be a couple nodes. So I'm going to take this moss out. I'm going to save it. So I'm going to put that aside. And then I'm going to take this out of the pot and look at the node, because this is one node and it looks like there's another one here. So potentially, as long as it hasn't been harvested already, there should be another growing eye on this one. Where this one grew right here, this is a spent node, but this one might actually have a growing eye. So I'm just going to take this out of the pot, look at the roots. Let's see how many more nodes we can get from this one. So this is a root. Okay, that's a root. I might have a few nodes here. That's actually quite surprising. So I'm going to cut, because there's a node right here. There's a growing eye. So that's another good node right there. So there's a growing eye right there. So I'm going to set that aside. That's a root. Now what I'm curious about is so this is how the plant would grow. It has leaf, there's a leaf, and then the node from that one. So there's a node right there. So I am going to chop this big one off like that, because there is a node right there. This one is no longer good, but if I chop this one right here, there might actually be a node with this one here too. So I'm just going to pull this out. I'm just going to chop that right here. And it looks like, is there a node on this one? There should be. Should be right around here. Okay, the leaf is there. So the node is right there. This little platform right here, that's where the leaf used to be, and there's a node right behind it. So this is all garbage. This is a garbage node because it's already sprouted a new growth point. So I'm going to set this one aside and we'll see how many plants we have. So that's extremely surprising because I thought I was going to have like maybe 1 or 2 at max nodes after making the cut. So it's got some nice roots right there. But now I have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 extra plants. So once they start growing, you could probably sell like a small 1-leaf node cutting. Like once it actually starts to grow and produce roots and all that kind of stuff, you can probably sell it for like 50 bucks. So I got 5 extra plants. I can probably make about $250 from just these little cuttings. So I'm going to pot this up in its own pot. I'm going to put it on a support system. Then I'll show you how I'm going to propagate these. These 2 with the roots, I'm going to stick in a pot of soil, probably right back in this one. And then these right here, I might actually try a soil propagation with this. Maybe I'll put it right back in this pot. And then these 2 little guys I'm going to be putting in a prop box. So I was deciding whether or not to go with terracotta or plastic. I think I'm going to go with the plastic cup just because I 3D printed this little support boot. So it holds the wood support stake. It's going to go in the pot like that. And then I can add the plant in like this. Come on, oh, that leaf is caught. So I can put the big roots down into the soil like that. I can support the plant. I'm actually going to put that, tuck it around a little bit. So I can support the plant on the wood plank like this. And all I have to do is now add in some soil. So something like that. That way it just provides a little bit of stability and support. I got this big bag of the VeryPlants aeroid mix. There is a discount code in the description if you want to try it out. So now I'm just going to place the cutting in the pot. I don't know if you can see me or not. I'm just going to hold that upright. I'm going to grab a couple scoops of this mix and I'm just going to dump it in the pot like so. And then I can adjust the plant if I need. I just want to make sure that it doesn't flop over here. So I'm just going to push all that soil down. Pretty stable. Now I'm just going to add some soil at the back. And it's probably not going to remain in this pot for very long just because it's not a large pot and these roots are probably going to grow pretty fast. But I just want something that isn't too large. And that the nice thing about the clear pots is I can monitor the progress of the roots as well. I am going to water this again, just lightly. I'm not going to soak it like I did yesterday, but the soil is really, really dry right now. So I just want the soil to settle in the pot. You can also use a pencil just to kind of poke it down a little bit, or you can just kind of tap the pot and that'll help settle the soil as well. So that's pretty much it. This thing is fairly stable. I'm just going to add a little bit more at the back here. I just don't want those big chunky pieces. I just want like some soil back there. And then once you water it, it should be a bit more stable. It's pretty stable right now. That plank is not going to be falling out. And probably within no time, it's going to latch on to the wood plank and then grow vertically and get larger leaves. I'll show the prop box method here in a second, but for these 3 cuttings, I'm going to try this leaf just as a soil propagation without even a root system on there. So there is the little growing eye right behind the leaf. So I'm just going to plunk this one right in the soil. But first, this big guy, he's got that growing eye right there. I'm just going to plunk it in like that. I'm not going to bury it completely, but I just want that root covered up. So I'm just going to put it in like that. I'm just going to put this one right in there. I've never propagated a Monstera just in straight soil. I usually start off in water. I probably should do that, but I'm not. I'm going to try something a little bit different this time. And I'm just going to stick this node with that root right in there as well. I'm going to keep the growing eye kind of at the top. Actually, maybe I'll bring it over a bit. I don't want to snap that root, so I'm just going to dig it down a little bit, and then I can add some soil just on top of these guys. And same with these, I'll just give it a light watering. So put a little bit of soil back there. And the key for successful propagations is to ensure that it is getting good light. And then you want to make sure that you are giving it the right temperature as well. So downstairs here in my basement, it's 23 degrees Celsius, so that is perfect. I'm just going to give this a little bit of water, and then I'll find a saucer. Here is my current prop box. I just want to show right here. This is a green on green Monstera, and you can see that little bump is the node activated. So eventually it's going to push out some new growth. This is, I can't remember what it is. Some sort of philodendron. This is the philodendron Tahiti. Same thing. I just kind of nestle it down there. These are all alocasias. Got some corms growing in the moss. It's got some nice roots. This is the Gagiana aurea. Here is another philodendron. Again, that node has been activated. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to move this one over here. Maybe something like that. What is this? So again, another little node activated. I'm going to put the Monstera Brazil right beside the green on green. So all I'm going to do is just kind of put it slightly below the moss. And I'm going to look for that growing eye. Where is it? Where is it on this one? Right there. And again, just going to push it down slightly like that. And eventually, if you're lucky enough, within a few months, because it does take quite a while, you'll get a little growth point or a little bump like that. So yeah, this is my cinnamon bun moss propagation box. I just like to reuse items. Another good one, if you have taller plants, is the Costco rotisserie chicken. So I cleaned it out. Now I can add moss in here, and you just have a perfect little propagation dome. It even has some little ventilation ports right there. So yeah, that is how I propagate a lot of my plants through the air layering method, the moss prop box, and I have done perlite prop boxes in the past as well. I currently don't have any perlite. I just did a ZZ plant propagation there as well. And for these ones, I gave them both a good thorough soaking. So now I'm going to put them over with the rest of my Monsteras, and of course I'll provide some updates down the road. So I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching all my videos. I appreciate the support. Take care, everyone. Bye.